I'll let you know it's recording.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd take this session as an opportunity to work through the kata in a little bit more detail, because Elio obviously hasn't had as many opportunities as some of the others to work through them. And it's always good to go through kata because it's the basis of all our kihon anyway. So I figure we'll start with the tan kata, simply because you'll get a lot more out of it than trying to do the Ju kata on your own. Ju, you really don't see a lot of it until you're doing the uchi side or you're doing 5 through 8. So I think we'll do the tan and get a little bit more out of it that way. So what we'll do is we'll start with a wee bit of a warm up. I will just spotlight myself. There we go. So yes, if you've got any injuries or illnesses, modify as you need to. We're just going to start with the head, just gentle to the side, chin to the chest, to the other side and back up to center, and the other way, shoulder, chest, shoulder, and upright, back around the other way. Smoothing it out a little bit more, back around. This time we're going to take the shoulders with us, so it's not just going to be the head. We'll bring up the opposite shoulder, so we're leaning over, so we're getting a bit of a stretch here. We're then going to roll the shoulders forward as we come forward, come back around, and then this opposing shoulder will lead us back up. So you should be getting stretch along the sides and the back as well. Going the other way, so drop it down with the shoulders, forward, to the side, and up. Once more, the other way. Shoulders, forward, to the side, and up, and back around. Shoulders, forward, side, and up. This time I'm going to bend the knees a little bit. I'm going to take a bit more of the hips, so you let your hands slide down. Let everything fall forward, so you're getting stretch up the back, to the side, and roll it up. So you're pulling up with that top shoulder. Going the other way, drop down to the side, drop both arms forward, to the side, and pull up via that shoulder. So again, you should be getting a long stretch. Once more, the other way, down, forward, to the side, and up, and back, down, forward, side, and back. I'm going to roll out the shoulders, just really opening them out, making sure you're getting a good opening of the pectoral muscles and the shoulder blades coming back at the back. And then forwards. I'm just going to link our hands, pushing them out. So we're stretching out both our shoulders and our wrists as well. And bring it up over the head, so you're pulling up the shoulders. So getting a nice long stretch. And releasing. Bring the hands behind you so the palms are facing in, pulling back. So opening out the chest muscles again, as well as stretching the arms. I'm going to warm up the hips, so just some hip circles. And the other way. Going to stretch the quads, so just lifting up the one foot, keeping the knees together. So you should be feeling a stretch up the front of the upraised leg. And the other side. And we're going to stretch the hamstrings out, so just see a little bit more. Extending out the one leg, so this front leg is straight, back one's bent. And if you push the toes up, that'll help increase the stretch up the back of this leg here. You can lean down if you want, you don't have to. And the other side. Coming up, we're just going to do a few calf raises, so feet together, toes facing forward. All we're doing is coming up into the balls of the foot and then rolling back down to the heels. Coming up and down. So pull up through the center of the body as well. That'll help keep you stable. And that'll allow you to control the movement as you go up and roll it down. So this will be warming up the calves as well as the feet. Just a couple more. All right, then we're just going to do some foot rotations, or ankle rotations rather. And the other way. Other foot, circles, and the other way. Lastly, just pressing the feet into the ground. So you might do a couple ways. You might go into the ball of the foot. You might put roll the toes over so you can stretch the front of the foot. You might put it behind you to get a stretch up there. Come onto the side. Whatever feels comfortable to kind of just warm up that foot. Stretch it out a little bit. Work out a few of the kinks. So whatever feels good for you there. And then the other foot. Alrighty. So, like I promised, this week will be kind of a kata session, kind of going over the basics, and we're just going to start with the tan tai tan kata. So I'm going to grab the kadachi, and we'll get straight into it because an hour is really not a long time. So I'm going to try and explain what we're trying to do in each one, so it makes a little bit more sense. I'll run over the shidachi roll first, and then I'll try and act as the uchi so that you can see the other side as your partnership. So Ipponme, we are going for Nodo. So the shidachi is demonstrating a Nodo strike. So the uchi's role is to make that clear and apparent. Both of you start in chura. And in order for there to be a clear opening here, the uchi is actually going to just tsunuch or irimi. So they're going to open up, make a little bit of a movement so that there's space for you to come straight in for Nodo. So from the shidachi side, you're coming in at chudan, you're walking 3 steps, you're both coming into mai, so you'll actually be across. When they tsunuch, when they irimi, you're going to take that opportunity for Nodo. From there, you're going to do a big step back out. So you're coming outside of mai, and then do a little step into mai. And as you do that, so you step back straight on, when you come back in, you're going to direct your weapon back at their kote. So you're covering them to let them know they're still under pressure. So from the view here, if I'm the shidachi, ich, ni, san, they open up, nodo, big step withdraw, and a little step into zanshin, so we're back at my level, but I'm covering their kote. The uchi then leads us back into center. We both go into gedan, and we withdraw 5 steps. So for the first few, I'm going to do the shidachi roll, so exactly the same as you, and then I'll do the uchi roll so that you can kind of see where we're coming from. So we all start in chura no kamae. We step in 3 steps. Ich, ni, san. The uchi opens slightly to give us an opportunity, and we strike nodo. We do a strong withdrawal outside of mai, and a little zanshin with a step in to cover their kote. The uchi will then lead us back into center, so we reset to chudan. They lead us down into gedan, so both hands come down, and we step back 5 steps. Ich, ni, san, shi, go. And then uchi leads us back up to chudan. So do that again. Chura no kamae, 3 steps in. Ich, ni, san. They open up for us, we go for nodo. We withdraw outside of mai. We do a little zanshin in to cover their kote, uchi then takes us back into chudan. They lead us down into gedan, and we withdraw. Hey, Kaylin. We're just working through the tan tai tan kata and back up to chudan. So what I'm going to do, I'm now going to do the uchi roll so that you can attack using my openings. So again, we both start in chudan. I lead us in, so I go ich, ni, san. I make sure we're crossing mai. I now tsunuch, which gives you the opening for nodo. You're going to withdraw, big step back, little step in, covering my kote. I'm then going to lead us back into center, mai. I show you that we're coming down into Gedan, and I lead the walk back. Ich, ni, san, shi, go, and back up to Chudan. We'll do that again. The 3 steps in. Ich, ni, san. Are you hearing me? Big withdrawal, so outside of my little step into Zanshin, covering my. I bring us back to center. Gedan. And withdraw. And back to Chudan. Do you have any questions about Ipponme at all? Either the Shidachi or the Uchi roll? Any of the techniques?
Sorry. When I step forward, when I do Zanshin, I get confused. Do I get to the right or left?
Okay. Oh, no, that's okay. No, it's not silly at all. So if I think back, so on the strike, I'm coming straight forward. When I step back, I'm coming in a straight line back. Because if you think about it, if the uchi has iramid, they're going to have had to pull their weapon to their right. So it's already off to your left. So it makes sense for you. So their arm is over there, their wrist is over there. So you're actually going to direct it slightly to your left.
My left. Okay.
Yeah, because then what will happen is then you're pointing at my Kote.
Yeah, your Kote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all of these ones, when you step back with the Zanshin, you're aiming at the closest target on me as a pressure.
Okay.
So in this case, it's going to be Kote. And because I've opened to my right, which is your left, it means that when you come back with Zanshin, you'll be slightly over to the left. So you're kind of crossing your body to cover my wrist over that side. So yeah, that's an absolutely fair question.
Okay.
Any other questions on Ipponme? No? All right. Nihonme. So Nihonme, Shidachi is showing off a men attack. So we actually change positions here. So once you go down to Gedan, your response to that is to cover using irimi. So make sure you're not coming over too deep on irimi or too much over the side. It's really just a little bit of a pressure forward, so a little bit more weight onto the front knee, and just a little exertion and raising of that arm. So it's a bit more up and around. So it's just a little curvature. So you can imagine if their weapons from Gedan, you're covering it effectively, but you're not flat and you're not too open. So that doesn't protect you against them at all. This covers you slightly against their weapon. Okay? So the Shidachi starts in irimi. I'm going on the side here. And we get walked in, ich, ni, san. In this one, uchi does nothing except move us in. We're going to stop about a half step apart, so we won't actually be crossing. So when we get to that point, the Shidachi is going to take initiative and go straight for men. Men. Then going to draw the Kodachi down the face. So down your opponent's face, past the nose, the chin. When it reaches Nodo, they will step back and you'll follow forward, trying to maintain connection, so very close to their throat. Once you've done that second, you're then going to maintain pressure by covering their arm, which is on your left now, as you step back so they can't come up at you. And then you'll both come back to center, back to mine. So I'll just walk through the Shidachi side, a little bit further back. So Chudan, irimi, ich, ni, san. I take initiative, men. I draw my weapon down their face. As it reaches Nodo, they step back and I follow to maintain pressure. And then I'm going to step back and cover their arm as I do so. And then we'll both come back to center to mine. We both come down into Gedan and we retreat 5 steps. And then back to Chudan. I'll try and do that from the front as we do this one. So again, I'm playing the Shidachi roll as well. We're both in, we start in Chudan. We move into irimi after they go to Gedan. Ich, ni, san, we take initiative. Men, or up. We draw down the face until we reach their Nodo, at which point they step back and we follow. I'm going to cover their arms, so I'm going to be covering to my left because that's where their arm is. We come back to center. We go to gedan, and we withdraw. And back to chudan. So for these next few, I'm going to play the uchi roll so you can see what the uchi is doing. So you just continue doing shidachi. So we both start in chudan. I drop to gedan, which is your signal to cover into irimi. I walk us in 3 steps. Ich, ni, san. You're going to take advantage and go straight from in. I'll just open out. You're going to draw down my face until you reach my nodo, at which point I step back and you follow. You're then going to cover my arm, which is on your left, as you withdraw. As soon as there's enough room, I walk forward and move us back into center. Gedan and retreat. Ich, ni, san, shi, go. Back to chudan. I go into gedan, you go into irimi. Irimi, good. 3 steps. Ich, ni, san. You take initiative and go from then. You draw down my face. You come to nodo. I move back and you follow. You're going to start withdrawing, covering my arm as you do so. And then I'm going to bring us back to center. Gedan. And withdraw. And back to chudan. Any questions on Nihonme? No? No questions? That one's a fairly simple one. So literally, shidachi takes initiative. You're going to walk in, go for men, and then everything after that is really about maintaining pressure over your opponent. You're reminding them that you're now in charge. You're keeping, I mean, the senseis will literally touch your face with this and run it down there to keep that pressure on. So it's not that you're forcing them forward when you reach nodo, they're stepping back and you're following. So you're maintaining that pressure. And again, that covering down the arm as you retreat is making sure you're keeping control over their weapon arm as they move backward. So for the uchi, all they really need to do is walk in, and as you come in for menka, is they're just going to move their arm out to their right, your left, just to make sure you're not walking into it. When you come down to here, they just retreat, and then as you walk back covering the arm, they'll come back up to center. So they are doing basically nothing except helping you show up. Number 3. So this was the newest kata. This is the kote. So this is shidachi showing off kote technique. Again, we start in the same kamae as number 2, gedan and irimi. So we're going to run through the shidachi roll. So for the shidachi, uchi has gone into gedan, we go into irimi. We have 3 steps in. Ich, ni, san. Again, this one we're ending up like a half step apart, so our weapons aren't touching. And that's what uchi's roll to make sure we keep that gap. From there, what's going to happen is we're going, okay, we need to cause some pressure. There's no really good opening here. So what I'm going to do, their weapons down there, their nodo is open. So I'm going to feint towards nodo. You're not going right into it, but it's like, hey, nodo. They sweep up to deflect. And as they do so, their weapons here, all you're going to do is bring your weapon up and over the top to hit their kote. So you come up, you go for nodo, they deflect, you bring it up over their weapon, you hit kote. Now, if they've done this properly, their kote is down around here. So you've hit kote, and their nodo is now still a target. So after kote, you go directly and thrust towards nodo. So you go kote, nodo. That's your next set of pressure on there. So not just that you hit the kote, you're also going for nodo after. So once you've done nodo, again, you're withdrawing, covering their arm, come back to center, gedan, and withdraw. So I'll try and do that a little bit more as a smooth motion. So we start in chudan, they go into gedan, we go into irimi. Ich, ni, san. We thrust or feint towards nodo, they deflect, we come up over their weapon, go to kote, and then we step in and thrust to Nodo. After that, we're going to cover their weapon arm as we retreat. We'll come back to center, gedan, and withdraw. I'll do that one again, so I'll do it from the side. They've gone into gedan, we go into Uchi, ich, ni, san. I feint to Nodo. They deflect, I come over, Kote, thrust to Nodo. I follow their arm down as I retreat, come back to center, gedan, and withdraw. Back to chudan. This time I'll do the uchi roll so you can see what you would see if you had an actual partner across from you. So in this case, again, we always start in chudan. I drop to gedan, which is why you cover me with Uchi. We walk in, ich, ni, san. I make sure there's that little gap. So you can see my Nodo is nice and vulnerable. So you're going to thrust towards Nodo. And I'm going to deflect your weapon up to your right. You come over the tip of my weapon to Kote. And then you're going to follow through to Nodo. You're then going to cover my arm, my weapon arm, as you walk back. And we come back to center. Gedan, and withdraw. Back to chudan. So we'll do that one again. I go to gedan. You cover me with Uchi. Ich, ni, san. You feint towards my Nodo, and I deflect your arm up to your right. You come over the tip of my weapon to Kote, and then you follow up with a Nodo. Cover my arm as you withdraw. Good. And I bring us back to center. Gedan. Retreat. Chudan. Any questions on number 3? Sanbonme.
After the feint, how much do we, so to go for the Kote, do we go all the way up for Kote, or is it, okay.
So really all you're doing is you're tracing around their weapons. I'm going to grab my punch knife. So it's going to be a little bit hard. So if you can imagine, this is, it's going to be really hard to do. I go for Nodo, they deflect. All I'm trying to do is just get over the tip of their weapon. So I come in, they deflect. I'm just trying to trace around the top of it. So it's quite a tight U-turn. You don't really want to go big because there's no point in it. What you're showing is you can go to the other side really, really easy. So yeah, it's quite a shallow movement over the top. Obviously, it helps if you have something to actually trace around. But if you just imagine that there is like half a tanshinai there, all you're really doing is going, so it's basically just your wrist even coming up. You don't need to use your whole forearm. You can do most of that with just the wrist if you need to. I mean, being Kihon, they might want to see a little bit more of the forearm, but they're not expecting anything big with that either. Any other questions or clarifications? No? Number 4, so Yohonme. This one is where uchi will actually initiate first with a thrust. So they're going to go for do, and this is where you're going to do harai, Nodo. So this one's mostly about footwork for you as well, and timing with your hands. So if I am Ishidachi, I'm doing your role, we are both start in chudan, we stay in chudan, we step in 3-step, ich, ni, san. They're going to thrust to your do. So they're going to come in towards do, and you go, I don't like that. You're going to go harai, Nodo. You're going to come off the line. So instead of going harai and straight through, you're going to step out to the side. I'm exaggerating here. You step out to the right as you harai, and then as the left foot comes in, you thrust to Nodo. So this one, I'll try and give you the footwork a little bit better here. So they come in, I harai as I step out to the right. Left foot comes in as I thrust to Nodo. So all you're really doing is step off the line and then rotating back into a kamae. So off to the right, back into center. Off to the right, back into center. And your hands are going harai as you step off to the right. So they're kind of coming upwards direction. So your right foot goes out and your right hand crosses your body. So cross, open. It feels a little bit weird. It obviously makes far more sense when you've actually got a partner. So you kind of need to imagine that weapon coming in at your center. When it's there, it's much easier to go, okay, harai, tsuki. But you are coming off to the side on this one. You're not coming straight in on the thrust. So harai, tsuki. When you finish the thrust, you're going to step back outside of mai, and then a little step of zanshin covering kote. So number 1 and number 4 are where you do that big withdrawal step. All the rest you walk it back a little bit more gradually. So shidachi roll. We'll start in shudan. We walk in, ich, ni, san. They thrust to our do. We step off to the right as we harai, left and go for nodo. We're going to withdraw, going back to shudan, and a little step in with zanshin to cover their kote. And they walk us back around to the center. So they walk us back onto the line, get done, and withdraw. And back to shudan. So again, we start in shudan, ich, ni, san. They thrust the do. We go harai, tsuki, nodo. Withdraw, zanshin, and they walk us back and around to center. Get done, and withdraw. Back to shudan. This time I'm going to play the uchi roll, so I'm going to make the thrust at you. So when you see me thrust at you, that's when you do the harai. We both start in shudan. Ich, ni, san. Yo. Good. So I'm out of the way. You're going to step back. And then a little zanshin in to cover my kote. I'm going to walk us back to center. Get done. And withdraw. Shudan. Do that once more. Ich, ni, san. Yo. Draw. And a little zanshin. I bring us back to center. Get done. And retreat. Shudan. Any questions about number 4? No? No, we're good. Okay. All right. Number 5. So this is the last one before the irimi seikai. And we'll probably stop at number 5 and just go over them for a bit. I won't worry about 6, 7, and 8 today. So number 5, this is men suwarite men. So again, the uchi is going to initiate by making a men attack. You're going to just show the technique of suwarite men. And you don't have to move. You don't need to step in from that point. Because if I'm doing men correctly, you shouldn't need to move in it. So this is another one where we start out, well, obviously we'll start all of them in shudan. This one, as the uchi, they come up into jodan. So for you, you're going to go into irimi, but you're going to bring your irimi up into your left slightly to cover their wrist, which is now up. So if they're up here, you want to be pointing towards this one, which is up on your left. So a little bit of a high irimi. We walk in, ich, ni, san. They're going to do a men cut. As they come down on the men cut, we're going to sweep our tanshinai to the left and then loop it back down straight for men. So it's sweep down to men. You don't need to step. You're going to draw it down their face until you reach around the nose or the chin. When you've reached there, you're going to step back. So you're going to step back from men, draw it down. You're going to go into jodan by stepping back. Yep. From there, you're going to gradually bring it back down and then going to recenter you. Gedan and withdraw. And back to Chudan. So again, I'm still doing the Shidachi roll. They've gone up into Jodan. So we go up into Irimi, high Irimi. Ich, ni, san. They're coming for men. I sweep up to my left, come down the center for men. I draw my weapon down to their chin. Step back into Jodan. I cover their weapon as I move back to center with them. Gedan and withdraw. And back to Chudan. I'll do the uchi roll now. So I come up into Jodan and you're going to point to high Irimi. We come in, ich, ni, san. I go for men. And you're going to sweep and come down. Draw it down to my chin and go into Jodan, stepping back. So it's a big pullback from here. So you draw down and then one big step back into Jodan. And then as you bring it back down to center, I bring us back into my Gedan and withdraw. Chudan. Once more, I go into Jodan. You point at my Kote. Ich, ni, san. Me. You sweep. You draw it down my face to my chin. And then Jodan stepping backwards. Good. You start slowly bring it down as I bring mine up. Gedan and withdraw. Chudan. Any questions about number 5? Men suwarite men.
Sorry, when before the Jodan, we sweep to our left or right?
To our left.
Left. Our left, my left.
Yeah, yes, your left, your left. So what happens is you bring it around to your left and then down the center. So left. So your right arm crosses your body and then comes down the center. It's a little bit harder to come around that way.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
So around and down. Yeah. Good question.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? From the cat or the dog?
Yes,
Yeah, lots of slides here too. I was going to ask. So is the okay? So two questions. We're not Are we sliding or are we eating the tanken?
So as they come down, that way, we're deflecting it basically off to the side. So it's coming down towards our head and then over. Yeah, you're just deflecting it out of the way. So it's not a harai as such. It's more an awasa. So,
Okay.
So yeah, because there's too much danger if you're just going for a harai that you might miss, or they might get it back on target, or if you're too short, they'll still come over. Whereas this, you're aiming for deeper, you're getting more control way up. So you're trying to maintain contact until you come up. So it just really opens up their body for attack.
Okay. And so we're here, and then the striking. Do we strike Ami, or do we strike? Do we do this, or do we strike on the same place?
You basically don't move. So the idea is if they've done men, you're also in men distance, so you don't need to go anywhere. So you deflect and you come straight down. So your body, your feet don't move. You come in at your irimi seitai, you bring it up and straight down again. So you're maintaining kamai.
Okay, and yes, yeah, it makes it's okay. The other question is more like practical application of the kata, which like when so I never seen it, but that doesn't mean that isn't there because I don't know much. So we're pointing to the wrist of the opponent, right? But is there any like if I'm here, can I, if it's in Tankan, can I strike their Kote, or will that be Ippon? I don't think
Kote is a valid target.
Okay.
Where their Kote is at the time isn't really a problem. It is going to be hard, and just depending on the judges, they may not give it to you. But Kote is always a valid target. Nodo is a valid target. As long as your kamae and your strike is good, it shouldn't matter if their Kote is down here or over here or what have you. Your technique is still good when you do the strike. So a bit like Naginata Shio or Kendo Shio, it's as much about your performance with the technique of strike as it is about actually hitting the target.
Okay. Yes. Okay, makes sense. Hey.
All right. So what I might do, we've got another 20 minutes. What I was thinking is, do you want to run through those katas to shidachi again, or do you want to look at the uchi roll?
Maybe I do it again for me.
And for Eduardo?
Yeah, I was thinking of doing uchi, but okay. Anything is fine for me.
We can do both at the same time. That's the nice thing about this. So anyone who wants to do the shidachi roll, you'll work through the shidachi roll. Anyone who wants to do the uchi roll, you'll copy me. So I will talk it through, and it will make more sense for the kata. So I can see Caleb studying there, the Kendo kata book. I know that those photos. So we'll run through it again from 1 through 5. We'll do each of them twice. The first time I'll talk through the uchi roll as well. So Ipponme. This is going for Nodo. All that the uchi has to do is to nut. So we have to get them to the mai, and then we just open slightly. So we both start in Chudan. Ipponme. We walk in 3 steps. Ich, ni, san. Uchi, iramis. And then shidachi goes to Nodo. Large step back out with mai. So big step back. Small step in to cover Kote as your zanshin. So uchi is just going to hold. Uchi then walks us back into center if we need to. Uchi then opens to get down. Shidachi will follow. And then uchi leads the walk back out. Ich, ni, san, shi, go. So for the first few kata, uchi really doesn't do a lot. We'll do that one again. So repeat, both in Shudan. Ich, ni, san. Uchi opens. Shidachi goes for Nodo. Shidachi does a big step back. And then covers Kote for zanshin. Uchi leads them back to center. Uchi leads them to Gedan. And we retreat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uchi leads us back into Shudan. Nihonme. Literally all the uchi needs to do is walk in. There's very little else for the uchi to do. This is for men. So the shidachi is going to take initiative and go for men. Uchi. So we both start in Shudan. Uchi then drops to Gedan. Shidachi covers with irami. Ich, ni, san. Shidachi goes straight for men, Uchi just opens to make sure they don't get stabbed. Shidachi drops down to Nodo, Uchi steps back. Shidachi follows. Shidachi then covers the arm as they step back. As they start coming closer to mai, we bring up our weapon, turning to center. Uchi leads into Gedan. Uchi leads the walk back. And then Uchi brings it back to Chudan. Uchi drops to Gedan. Shidachi goes to irami. 3 steps in. Ich, ni, san. Shidachi initiates by going for men. Uchi just opens to clear the way. Shidachi draws down to Nodo, which point Uchi steps back and Shidachi follows. Shidachi covers the arm as they walk back. And as there's a bit more clearance, uchi just brings it back up center. Gedan and withdraw. Chudan. Sanbonme, number 3. Uchi from Chudan drops to Gedan. Shidachi goes to Irimi. We walk in. Ich, ni, san. So the uchi, you're going to be drawing your weapon up slightly from Gedan, but not all the way up to Chudan. So you're bringing it up slightly. Shidachi is going to thrust to Nodo. And uchi is going to deflect off to their left, opening up Kote. Shidachi is going to come over the top to Kote. And as Shidachi comes for Nodo, uchi opens their weapon. Shidachi then walks back, covering the arm. We bring them back to center. Gedan. And withdraw. Back to Chudan. Once again, uchi goes into Gedan. Shidachi goes into Irimi. Ich, ni, san. Shidachi feints to Nodo. Uchi deflects to the left, their left. Shidachi comes over the weapon to Kote. As they come for Nodo, uchi opens the arm out. Shidachi then covers the arm as they retreat. Uchi starts bringing that up to meet them. Uchi goes into Gedan. And we retreat. Chudan. Yohonme, number 4. This is do harai tsuki. So the uchi is going to initiate this attack. But we both start in Gedan. So we stay in Gedan for both. So we go from Gedan. We come in 3 steps. Ich, ni, san. Uchi initiates by thrusting at the door. Shidachi goes harai tsuki nodo, or nodo. Shidachi will then 1 big step back, and then a little step into cover Kote, and then we walk them back to center. Gedan, and withdraw. So the uchi isn't really doing much beyond that initial thrust. Back to Chudan. We stay in Chudan. Ich, ni, san. Uchi attacks. Shidachi goes harai, nodo. Shidachi steps back. Little zanchin in. We walk them back to center as the uchi. Uchi leads to Gedan. And we withdraw. Chudan. Gohonme, number 5. So this is men suwarite men. Again, this is initiated by the uchi. Uchi goes into Jodan. Shidachi goes for high irimi. 3 steps in. Ich, ni, san. Uchi steps in for men. Shidachi does deflection, which opens our arm out. Men. Draw it down to our nose. And then Shidachi steps back into Jodan. And then as they start bringing their arm down, we start walking them back to center. Gedan. And withdraw. Chudan. Uchi goes into Jodan. Shidachi goes into high irimi. Ich, ni, san. Uchi goes men. We get suwarite men. Draw down to our chin. Shidachi then steps back into Jodan. And then we move them back into center. Gedan. And withdraw. Chudan. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or things they want to clarify for 1 through 5? Or do they just want to watch the video again later? So the uchi roll isn't very complicated. It's mostly about knowing what kamae to open to. And once you know what you're showing, getting the shidachi to show off, it makes the kamaes make a lot more sense and the initiations make a lot more sense. So I said, we're not going to do it the irimi seitai because those ones are a little bit hard without a partner, and I'd like to spend more time on them if I'm going to do that. I'll give you a choice. Do you want to run through them again, or do you want to have a quick look at the Jutai Tan kata? There's only 6 of them, and they're really straightforward. Comparatively. Any thoughts, feelings? A lot of silence going on here. I don't know, do you want to consolidate 1 through 5 a bit more, or do you want to throw in the mix of the other cards?
I'll let them decide, as you know, I practice it in person. So
Kaylin's had the advantage of me doing this with them a lot.
I was thinking of the. What did you say, Ellie?
Another kata.
Did another
one.
set? Okay.
Yeah, another.
What about
kata.
you, Eduardo? Okay, Eduardo?
I also like to do a little of Jutai Tan.
Okay. In that case, we're going to make it a little bit more fun for you in that respect. So the first 3 kata, the Mokuju wins. The second 3 kata, the Tanken wins. Do you all have a Mokuju there, or will it be easier for you to work with Tanken?
It's here.
You're all good? Okay. All right. So grab Mokuju, and I'm going to do the Tanken side of it. So these ones will help you understand how they work against each other a little bit more. So as I said, the first 3 kata of Jutai Tan, the Mokuju wins. And it's very straightforward once you see what the openings are. It makes a lot of sense. So for all of these, the Mokuju will be down in Gedan. I'm just going to grab one. So all the kata, you start in Chudan, and then when we start the actual kata, you will drop down to Gedan. So for all 3 of these kata, you start in Gedan. As you walk in, each Nisan, you actually bring the Kensen up to meet the Tanshinai, or the Kadachi. So you start in Gedan, but as you walk in each Nisan, you bring it back up closer to Chudan. Okay. So Ipponme, we start 8 steps apart. We're both in Chudan. You'll drop down to Gedan, and I will cover you with Irami. So as you walk in 3 steps, each Nisan, you bring your Kensen up to meet my Kudachi. The number 1, I literally open up. And like all the other number 1 katas, you're just going to come straight to my center. You're going to go for Chokutotsu. So just straight into Chokutotsu. Then 1 big step back out of my, 1 big step backwards, and then a little Zanshin step in, covering my Kote. Same as we had with Sankai Tan. So all it really looks like from your perspective is each Nisan, they open up, yeah, big step back into Chudan, little step in for Zanshin. That's it. That's all your karting. So you're taking the opportunity of me opening up. So I'm here, I snuch, I irami, and you go, oh, target, you come straight in. And then you step straight back out, and a little Zanshin to cover my Kote. We come back to Chudan, we both draw down to Gedan, and we both retreat again. So for these ones, it's very much about what the uchi is doing. Whatever looks like the most practical way to attack your opponent is generally going to be the right response for these ones. So again, we start back at 8 steps. You go down into Gedan, I go into Irami. Each Nisan, you draw your Kensen up to meet my Tanshinai. I open, logical is coming straight in. So that's it. Big step back as a withdrawal. So big step back, withdrawal, and a little step in, covering my Kote for Zanshin. I bring us back to center, so you bring your weapon to meet mine. We both go into Gedan, and we withdraw. And back to Chudan. So that's Ipponme. Nihonme will also make sense. So I'll be able to explain this one as we go through. We start exactly the same for all of these. You go down into Gedan. I cover you with Irami. We come in 3 steps. Ich, ni, san. So you've brought your weapon up to meet mine. There's a little bit of a gap. So what I do is I'm going to step in and I'm going to push your mokuju out to your left. So it's pushed out to your left. That's left me open. So what you do is you withdraw by stepping out to your right and back, and then you're coming in for Chokutotsu. Then big step back, little step into Zanshin, and I bring us back to center. Get down and withdraw. Chudan. So you'll go back into Gedan. I'll cover you with Irimi. 3 steps. Knee, our weapons are now touching, or I step and push your mokuju to your left. Across your step out to your right. And then you're going to come in to Chokutotsu. Big withdrawal step, little Zanshin step. And then I bring us back to center. Gedan and withdraw. Back to Chudan. So really, all you're thinking about is what is most logical. So if I'm here, I walk in, they push my mokuju out here, that leaves them open, so I step back, and I'm pulling my weapon back so I've got clearance, and then just coming straight in for Chokutotsu. Number 3, it'll make a little bit more sense, because this time what will happen is they're pushing your weapon left and down. So from here, they push your weapon left and down. And so the only way you can get out of this is you're going to step off, and you're going to pull this up a bit like you would for shika. So it comes straight up, so it's almost vertical. And then as you step in, you step back in for Chokutotsu. So you step off the line, pulling this down, and then back in. So technique is we come in, they drop, they push our weapon down into our left, we step out to the right, pulling up the weapon, step back in for Chokutotsu. Withdraw, Zanshin, then back to center. Again, this makes a lot more sense when you have your partner there. So we start in the same position. You go into Gedan, I go into Irami. Ich, ni, san, so you bring your tension up to my weapon. I push your weapon down into your left, leaving me open. You step out to your right, bring it up, then back in, thrust. Good. Then one big step back, Chudan, and a little Zanshin step in, covering my foot. I bring us back to center. Gedan. Withdraw. And Chudan. So we'll do that one more time. You go into Gedan. I go into Irami. Ich, ni, san, bring your weapon up to meet mine. I push yours down into your left. You step out to your right and come in. Okay, good. Little step back. And then Zanshin step in. I bring us back to center to Chudan. Both drop to Gedan and withdraw. And back to Chudan. Any questions about those kata? I know I rushed through them, but they are very, very simple kata when you see what the openings are creating. So in the first one, it makes sense because all they've done is they've twitched, they've opened up. Chokutotsu is right there, so all you have to do is come back. For Nihonme, so in Nihonme, what's happening is they're stepping it and they're pushing your weapon off to the side, but in doing so, they've opened up the target here. So you need to step out to your right. Actually, you don't even need to, sorry. Number 2, you don't step out to it. You step back and into the line so you can come straight in the attack. All you're doing is you're getting your weapon out. So you pull the weapon back a little bit, just step back, and then you come in for the target. For number 3, because I'm pushing it down into your left, you have to pull it out from underneath. And it's a little bit easier to come out on the angle to do that before you thrust back in to the target. So as long as the uchi is showing you those openings, it it should feel fairly natural to come back in because the target is right there. There's nothing overly complicated. It's basically about how you get your weapon to that point, like with everything else. But the uchi roll for this is very, very simple. When it comes to the other side of the next 3 kata, they're all irimi seitai kata. So this is how you perform irimi seitai on a mokuju. And those ones are a little bit harder to practice without the weapon. You do have to do a lot more visualization, but it is possible. Do they all kind of make sense, those 3? The uchi roll for this is very simple. So you can learn that one very, very easily. Mokuju, you just have to think about what's the most logical attack. Any questions on the technique of those at all? All right, so we've kind of hit the hour here. Eduardo, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So, Nihonme on the Juken side, it's just straight backwards from what I understood.
That was my bad. I was thinking ahead. So for the first one, you don't have to come off the line because I've just opened. You come straight in. For Nihonme, I do push your weapon out to the side, but you step straight back and then come straight forward. So that was my bad. Sorry, I do apologize. Okay. Number 3, because I've deflected you off on a diagonal, you are going to step out to the side more and then come in again. Taylor, you've got the book in front of you. I can't remember. I think Nihonme is actually a thrust to Nodo rather than to the door. I'm pretty sure my copy of the book is down in the garage somewhere with the rest of my equipment. So I'll ask Taylor to check. So the first one is Chokutotsu. Number 2, in the Jutai kata, I believe that you step back and then you're coming from Nodo. So just let Kaylin check that one for me.
Yeah, the Nihonme is to the step to the chest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And number 3, Jutai-kan?
Number 3 is, it's a step to Nodo. It's to the throat.
Okay, so number 3. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was my mix up there, but
yeah,
it's not too different in that one. So number 1, it's straight to Chokutotsu. Number 2, straight to Chokutotsu. Number 3, pull down, and then, which kind of makes sense because you've already got that nice circle as you pull down and up into Nodo. So you kind of use that as a nice waveform to come back to Nodo position. But I quite like the Jutai kata. Once you actually look at what they're doing, they all make a great deal of sense into how you're interacting with the other weapon. But all of these kata, 1 through 6, Tanken always starts in irimi, Kendo always starts in gedan, and you always walk in and the mokuju comes up to me. So it's identical for all 6. You don't have to think about a different kata position or kamae position for those ones. All right. So I know that was a bit of a slower session. It wasn't sort of as full on as some of the other Kihon ones I've done with it. But I think it's really good to just work through these kata because we don't get to do them too often. And I know for Eduardo and Elio, it's probably a little bit more useful for you when you decide, when you're able to do face-to-face training to have a little bit of a record for these ones.
Yeah, but it's always good to go through the kata and to see details that we might be missing, especially on these. So when I was at Terada Sensei, we mostly did Jutai Ju, mostly. So everything that's with Tanken was kind of skipped a little. So yeah, it's always good to see these katas being done by someone else and not just images on them.
Yeah, I mean the book is great, but it really doesn't help you. And even some of the videos that are out there, you can't really see all the positions. They make a lot more sense when you're doing them with a person. And I'm not saying mine, my interpretation is the be all and end all. I'm sure the sensei could find plenty that's wrong. That's a given. But in terms of giving the basics, it's all pretty much there. After that, it's just kind of that fine tuning. So hopefully it's helpful. Yeah, I quite enjoy doing kata, so it's a nice way to relax on a Saturday evening.
I like it. This time it was more easier than other times I did cut. I understand it a little more.
Yeah, and that's why I thought it was good to kind of break it down a little bit more today and really take a bit more time on the tantai kata. Because once you can see what both sides are trying to do, it makes a lot more sense. As the uchi rolls are pretty boring, quite frankly. The shidachi roll is definitely the more interesting one to learn, but the uchi helps you to understand what you're trying to help them do. So it makes the positioning makes a lot more sense.
The reaction. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I will probably be still in lockdown next week. I think we're probably going to be in lockdown for at least a few more weeks, much as I'd like it to be otherwise. So again, happy to run more sessions next weekend, depending on what day they are. I guess it's a question of what people would like to do, if they want to do more kata, if they want to do more Nihon. Just let me know in the chat, and I will work it out. Cool. Otherwise, I will leave you to what looks like a really nice day in Portugal.
Yeah, very sunny today. Yeah, at least here in Braga, it's very sunny.
Lovely.
And hot.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had quite a nice day, but it was still pretty cold.
No, here it has been quite warm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
They say the weathercast here say that it will be the hottest day in the year today, maybe.
Wow.
Oh.
We are
Okay.
starting now.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
All right. Well,
Okay.
look, really lovely to see you all. Yeah, let me know in the chat if there's anything particular you want to do next week or anything you want to clarify. Yeah. Have a lovely day. Kaylin, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Bye
And I'll see you all
Thanks,
later.
Wow.
See ya.
Thanks. Bye bye.